We have the Ayatollah of fantasy rock and roller with us today, Adam Rank. How you doing, Rank?
They look great in person, and I just can't wait to next year where we can pack it full of 25,000.
Hey, Bob, how you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. I didn't know it was Ball Guys Day. It was being ranked. I mean, how can you lose?
This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast.
Welcome back once again. This is the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, and we are coming at you live at the beginning of week number 2. As always, the ViperCast is powered by Fantasy Points Media Group, and we have a lot of stuff to get to this week. We got a fantastic show sheet all printed out and ready to go. But first, Calvin, what's up, buddy? How was your weekend?
Well, everything was going really well until 3:25, and then it just became the best weekend I've had in a long time for about 3 hours. As you know, about 38-3. I had about 38 reasons to be really excited. So,
You know what? That's awesome. Major, how was your weekend?
My weekend was awesome. Like I predicted some stuff that kind of like came true. Like I love when that happens.
So we got a little bit of Major Domus here we're going to kind of work with.
Yeah, I think I might change my name
myself,
at the bottom of this thing here. I'm trying to figure out how to do that. I need to change it to Major Domus.
And I pretty much was like alive, and then I died, and then I came back to life, all within like a 10-minute period, if not less. But we're not here to talk about my weekend. Tara, how was your weekend?
You know what? I had a fantastic weekend. You guys are not going to bring me down, okay?
Well,
it's gonna be a long show for you, Tara. It's gonna be a long show. Just let you know that.
We're here to have fun. We're here for a good time here. We're here to break down some news and notes for you, coming at you right now. Eventually, Major's going to have the soundboard going like news and notes coming at you live. But right now, news and notes, Ryan Fitzpatrick, IR, Calvin, thoughts?
I think it helps Logan Thomas. I'm a little worried about Terry McLaurin. We'll see. Hopefully him and Taylor Heineke get on the same page, but it means really good things for Logan Thomas if you look back at his target distribution in his time that he started as a football team person.
Major, I'm going to head over to you. Head to the Bay Area here. You guys have some running back news coming out of there. Raheem Mostert, water is wet. Raheem Mostert's on the IR. What's going on there?
Yeah, man, it's so sad. Like he was actually performing. That dude was running his butt off in that game, and again another injury. But we got the young guys I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the show. But yeah, I feel really bad for Mostert, man. Like he's the injuries, man, all the time. It sucks.
Week 1 is usually like that old-fashioned elephant's graveyard when it comes to injuries. And Denver got hit hard there too, Tara. Jerry Judy, he's on the IR as well. He looks like he's going to be 4 to 6 weeks minimum. What are your thoughts there? How's that Broncos offense look?
I hate it. I hate it because, for me, I thought that Judy was going to be the number one in the offense. And, it was feeling like it was going to be that way. And I also hate it because it's a high ankle injury. Even the 4 to 6 week time frame, we've seen that sometimes that's a minimum. Sometimes it's more than that. And even then you come back and you're limited. So, I mean, just from a fantasy perspective, it's not a great thing for him being a Judy owner. But from the offense, I mean, Tim Patrick is not Jerry Judy, but he has been serviceable. And so, I think they'll be able to get by somewhat. They're going to lean on the run a little bit more. Maybe some great opportunities for Javonte Williams and his progression as well. But overall, sad situation, but I think they'll work around it.
I'm going to head back to you, Calvin, because we're going to keep on going with these wide receiver injuries. We've seen that Dallas Cowboys offense get going here. Cooper was, I think, the number 1 wide receiver of the week. CeeDee Lamb had about 20 targets, about 3 less than Darren Waller did all week. And then Michael Gallup, calf injury, back to the IR. What are your thoughts?
He looked like he was ready to break out. This could be a decent buy low opportunity in Dynasty because I think there's a good chance that he ends up in a better situation potentially next year. He looked awesome. I loved what I saw. I hated that he got hurt. I think it could mean good things for Dalton Schultz. I think I'd look past the Wilsons and the Semi Fahiki. You pronounce it enough. You do it, Matt.
Fiocchi.
There you go. And Dalton
It's
Schultz
not right,
seems to
but
be the
we're gonna
guy
go with that.
that I think benefits there.
And then, you know what? Maybe the biggest news that no one's really talking about right now is fans are back. And I think we started seeing that home field advantage kick in, especially with the offensive lines. Not quite. If you were on the road in that offensive line, you know, it was difficult to try and make things out there. We watched a certain defensive end absolutely eat up some offensive linemen here. We'll get to that on my studs and duds here of week 1. But you know, it was good to get everyone back. And then I'll kind of throw this out to everybody because, you know what? As a Raiders fan, they were getting pressure with 4 guys. That's something that just doesn't happen. It was fantastic to watch that Monday Night Football game. It was electric, and it's really not news and notes, but when Raiders defense actually comes out and plays well, you have to talk about it because it doesn't happen very often. It's like a generational talent when you talk about the Raiders defense. That's kind of where we're at right now. I'm not saying they're going to be a generational talent. Oh, we got an emergency, something, probably with the COVID. Don't worry about that. That's my soundboard going on.
You have an emergency? Who cares? Back to football.
Back to football. Back to your regular scheduled program. I should probably find out what that actually was because that might have been important. But
yeah, let me give you a quick story about my dad. He actually is a Raider fan as well, and he went to the game. He left the game early because he thought that the Raiders was going to lose, and he wanted to beat the traffic. So he missed like the greatest ending ever. And I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? Just being old, man. Just trying to beat the traffic. Like, that's the oldest thing people do. Got to beat the traffic.
That was my dad at literally every Clemson game we ever went to. Like, 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, we're gone.
Doesn't matter. It's the national championship. No, we got to get home.
Out.
This is how we roll. So it's good. Those are kind of the news and notes breaking down. Calvin, was there anything else that you want to kind of touch on the news and notes thing? Did I miss something?
I just think Zach Moss being out, that was like him being inactive, coach's decision. That was huge. Trey Sermon being inactive, I think that was huge news. Obviously, you know, we'll see the breakdown. I'm sure we'll talk about the 49ers backfield. And, you know, yeah, that's, to me, those were the things that made the biggest impact over the weekend.
Tara, Major, anything that I'm missing?
Let's get to the good stuff. I got some gloating to do.
Well, let's get to the victory lap. Is that what you want to get to, the victory laps?
I got some sound effects and everything ready to go. Let's go.
All right. So as you all know, we dropped some bold predictions at the end of the week. Some of our predictions were a little bit more bolder than others. But first off, let's talk about Tara's bold prediction. She gets a 1-0 record here because she went with Chase Edmonds will actually be usable and be a top 24 running back. Now, Calvin, I know you have some words for this here about a top 24 finish, but you know what? It counts on the scoreboard. Tara, congratulations. You're 1-0 after week 1 of bold predictions.
If you're bold, not so bold, go ahead.
Thank you. I lost audio connection for a second, so I kind of missed, but all I heard was, you know, congratulations and top 24, and it sounded like me. But yeah, I know, you know, maybe you guys don't think it's a bold, but no one else was on him. I don't feel like I heard a lot of people saying, hey, you know, Chase Edmonds or any Arizona running back. So I felt like I took a leap. So, you know, hey, I won. Come on.
You know what? We got to give it to you. It's on the scoreboard. I got it marked down as 1-0. Before we get to Major, because I know that's going to be some serious victory lapping going on that one. Calvin, you just missed on yours. You went with last week as Jalen Hurts as the QB1 of the week. Mm-hmm. He finished as the QB 8 or 6. I can't remember what it was. Either 6 or 8, depending on the scoring system. So he was a QB1, but you don't get credit for that because he wasn't the QB1.
That's true. So I'm going to learn from Tara, and this week I'm going to project that Kadarius Toney passes me in receiving yards this week.
Nice.
Ooh, that's bold. You know what? I may take you on.
I'm ahead right now. I'm ahead. I'm ahead of him and Elijah Moore.
Don't be so sure.
That's a bold prediction.
And I have to take an L again here this week. on my bold prediction. I went with Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson would be a top 3 stack at the position. They were good. They scored. They put up some points. If you're playing DFS, you got a cheap value on them, but they were not a top 3, so I have to take an L on that. Maybe next week I will say, you know what, Sam Darnold and Robbie Anderson will be a top 24 stack. Maybe that's something I'll throw out there. But now, for the moment, Major's been waiting for. Major gets the 1-0 marking. His prediction of Jameis outperforms Rodgers in a New Orleans Saints victory.
That was
Major,
bold.
the floor is yours. If you haven't figured it out yet, Major has a soundboard that he's been playing with. And he's probably been having that all set up all day, I'm sure.
And I should get 2 points for that. I gave you 2. I said James is going to outperform Rodgers with 1 point. NO wins 2 points. Like, we need to figure out a point system here.
Well, I don't know if the Saints winning would have been a bold prediction.
Against the
nobody picked the Saints.
Yeah,
nobody.
Come on. It was me and Cal. That was it. Like,
it was all Packers.
Like,
I'm not even sure Calvin was on your side. I don't even think Calvin.
No, man, but I just love being right. You know, it feels good. Like, you know, I had to button my stuff all the way to the neck today just to look proper for my grand
your victory lap.
You know, I might give a couple more air horns, but I'll save. I think I hurt Tara's ears, but you know, just know that it's what I do. I'm trying to change my name to Major Damas. Like, officially, I'm gonna go down to whoever you got to go to the Hall of Records. Whoever changes your name, like, we're gonna figure that out.
Meta World Peace.
Yes, I'm gonna do Major Damas. Major.
So while we're waiting for Major to come up with his next bold prediction this week, we're going to get into some studs and duds. Major, or we'll start with Tara here. Tara, who are your studs and who is your duds for week 1?
So my stud for this week, and I'm not being a homer, I think this is for real. It's Aaron Jones. Okay, I truly think if you look at what was done to that defense last week, I think there's a really good opportunity from a running back perspective. So I think they'll turn it around. And in my defense, for the way that the Packers performed in week 1, considering that half of the offense kind of had other things that they were doing in the offseason, very focused on attending, Kentucky derbies and hanging out with Shailene Woodley and doing all that fun stuff. And that's awesome. But maybe we needed to, we just need a little bit of time to get back into the focus of football, contract stuff settled and whatnot. So I think Aaron Jones is going to have a great great time this week. And my dud it's Jimmy G. I have zero faith in Kyle Shanahan. I'm sure we'll talk about that several times throughout the course of this episode. But
what you're saying about the Niners?
I'm sorry. Your coach has hurt my feelings. He ruined my week. He ruined my Ayuk. I'm not a happy camper. So yeah, I don't trust what's going to happen. I don't trust what the time split between him. Obviously, Trey Lance is going to play. I don't trust the time split. Stay away from it. Stay away from it if you can.
And for the viewers right now listening, Shailene Wiggly there, she's not one of the Wiggles. Major, who are your studs and duds for week 1?
So mine is the person that it seems like everyone loves to hate. I'm going to have to go with Jared Goff. You know what I mean? The guy had a great game against a really good 49er defense. He went 35 for 54, 388 yards, 3 TDs. He did throw a pig, but, it is what it is. He just really had a good game. Like, he was in command of that offense. He didn't have the jitters. He's actually throwing the ball down the field too. Most of the stuff is like dink and dunk, but it seems like he's opening up a little bit. So I think that trade that they had is actually working for both teams at this point. And then my dud is going to go, since Tara had to go with the 49ers quarterback, I'm going to have to say Aaron Rodgers, the guy 15 for 28 with 133 yards and 2 picks, 0 touchdowns. Like, is that your leader? Like, what's going on over there?
You know what? I might just save this soundbite right now for the show, because Tara's reaction or lack thereof when you were taking shots at Aaron Rodgers was priceless in itself.
I just realized that you guys were doing studs and duds of the past week, and I did studs and duds of this week coming up. So I hope no one thinks I'm crazy enough. No one thinks I'm crazy enough to think Aaron Jones was a great play last week. That was not.
You really could flip them around for week one, because Garoppolo was a stud in week one, and Jones was a dud in week one. So
wait, did I do it around? Did I do it right, or did
you guys did it right. I realized that this is the recap section of the episode, and I was thinking forward.
It happens to
That's right. I was not going to say anything, just kind of let it go, and let's see how that kind of flows there.
We all understood where you were going. We understood.
We knew where you're going. We knew exactly
Thank you.
Yeah.
Calvin, speaking of knowing what you're doing, who was your stud for week one?
The stud of the week to me, nobody improved their dynasty value more than David Montgomery. I think there was a lot of reasons to be hesitant about what we saw at the end of last year for him. Obviously, he was really good, but it was some of the weakest run defenses that were in the league. I mean, it was like number 29 to 32 is basically what he ran over. So all he did is come out immediately this week in the first week and run over Aaron Donald and the Los Angeles Rams. And he had the most yards after contact, 81 yards after contact, 5.1 yards per attempt after contact. A lot of running backs didn't get 5.1 yards per attempt, including everything up before contact and everything. 3 runs of 10 plus yards. He was going off the board on DLF's ADP at RB20. So I think a lot of people were still kind of hesitant. To me, there's no reason to think that he could not. Now, he didn't catch a lot of passes. I think he caught 1. That's the only concern right here. And with Justin Fields as his quarterback, you expect the running quarterback to dump off to the running back less. But there's no reason to think he can't be something in the realm of Chubb or, dare I say, Derrick Henry, based on what he looked like in week one.
Well, we don't want to compare anyone to Derrick Henry in week one. Who's your dud for week one?
Elijah Moore. I just had so many high hopes. I really thought with Jamison Crowder being out, it was going to leave some opportunity. He was making a play every day in camp. I was very disappointed to see the lack of what he did in week one. That's my dud.
But what team does he play for? It happens.
Yeah, I know.
That's what they do.
I know.
So before we move on to my stud and dud of the week, I want to get questions in here as they come. This first one is coming from Baller BR OK. Tara, thoughts on Sutton?
Thoughts on Sutton? I don't have a lot of thoughts on him, unfortunately. I was a little I'm a little disappointed. I would expect more. I really thought that, I know I was high on Judy, but I also thought that it was really going to be a 1A, 1B situation where Sutton was going to be incredible as well, based off what I saw. But I do think that there'll be a bounce back situation and that he's going to have that opportunity now. He'll be the clear number 1. And so looking forward to things for him moving forward.
Calvin, Tim Patrick or Cortland Sutton week 2?
Noah Fant.
I was just going to swing that. I was going to literally give Major that Noah Fant or
I'll take Patrick. I'm a Patrick fan. He's been on all my fantasy teams for like the last 2 years. All he does is perform. But for some reason, he's never the number 1 guy, but he's always ending the season with the most receptions and yardage and all that good stuff. So keep an eye out for Tim Patrick.
And I'll keep my studs and duds here really short and sweet because I like to give the line a little bit of love. I'd love to give a little FFIDP here, shout. Mm-hmm. Was there anyone who influenced the game more in week 1 than Chandler Jones? Pay the man right now. 5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles. Player of the week. You know what? You can call him the defensive player of the week. That would be correct. Call him the offensive player of the week too, because he got that ball back into Kyler Murray's hands. And they absolutely embarrassed Tennessee. If you want to flip that over, you give the dud of the week to Tyler Lewan because he absolutely got left holding the bag. I mean, it was a mismatch. It was a whooping. It was a whipping. It was a whatever you want to call it. And you know what? Credit to Tyler Lewan. He got ahead of the PR Express there, and he said, you know what? I got my butt whooped. When he starts to badmouth himself, the media can't get at him after that. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So credit to Tyler Lewan for kind of cutting the media off in the PR. But, man, Chandler Jones was on a different level altogether. The dude's playing. He wants to get paid, and You've seen what he did there, 5 sacks. It doesn't matter how your scoring system is. That's a lot of points in fantasy football.
Yeah. Can I amend my stud and the dud of the week to correctly, since I understand the game now? My stud of the week, because I feel like we have to mention Joe Mixon. I mean, that was incredible. So incredible. And first of all, really happy for him to be able to come back and actually be utilized in the proper way, being involved in all aspects of the game. And, you know, I think that people that drafted him, I was someone that, unfortunately, I was drafting from spots where I really couldn't get him, but people that drafted him as an RB2, wow, you know, that's going to be a fantastic situation for you. And then my dud of the week, I just want to fight with you guys. So I'm going to say Marquez Callaway. That's my dud of the week. He's shut down by the Green Bay Packers defense. Even though we didn't shut down anything else, we shut down Marquez. So
I'm glad you said it. I'm glad you said it. I was about to get you, but you said it already.
You hang on to whatever victory you can get right there. You just hold on to that.
All I'm going to say about that is Zay Jones, Henry Ruggs, Brian Edwards all had more receiving yards than Callaway. Anyway,
that's true.
Moving on, we're going to keep this going with Tera here right now. Here's a little bit of, we call this full disclosure. You know what I mean? We want to be transparent. We want to celebrate our hits, but we want to be transparent when we miss on stuff too, because we know in the fantasy community there's still a lot of people that hit, but we miss a lot too. It happens. You do your best predictive analysis. You go with what the film says, what the analytics say. You kind of mesh them together to get the best information you possibly can. Tera, what was your biggest hit and your biggest miss in week 1?
Sam Darnold. You know, I felt pretty confident that he was going to be able to. I know a lot of people were saying, no, Sam Darnold, he is what he is. It's not an Adam Gase thing. It is. And I'm really happy for him to be able to get out of that situation and be able to get his little revenge game against the Jets. You know, he looked happy and he looked very good. Very successful from a fantasy standpoint. And then my miss of the week was, unfortunately, I was really high on Naji Harris. And that one surprised me a little bit. You know, because when I went back and I looked at the games where James Conner actually played in last year, he did very well from a fantasy perspective. So I thought, you know, when you're a running back that's getting all of the volume and you're a grinder, that you're going to get out there, and regardless, you know, if some offensive line struggles, you're still going to get out there and you're going to get yours. And so I was a little surprised for Najee to go through that. That might be a little bit different. He's used to being behind a different type of offensive line when he was, you know, in Alabama. So insert joke from Matt there with Alabama. But yeah, I was a little bit surprised. I'm not off of Najee, but I expected more out of him.
I think he was RB 45 in PPR when it all broke down. I know he was RB 43 going into last night's game, Monday night game. I know Jacob scored 2 touchdowns. Tyson Williams there, he scored a touchdown. So I know they both passed. I don't know, maybe even Kenyon Drake passed.
Latavius Murray might have, honestly.
Oh, Latavius Murray probably got, because he got that touchdown as well. You know what? He might have been. You know what? We don't even want to go on that one. Major, who'd you hit? Where'd you miss?
Last week, if you guys are paying attention, I chose this person to like win the Adult Break My Heart Award, most likely to bust, and it was Judy. I kind of feel like it was a hit, but a miss at the same time because I did not want him to get hurt. I thought it was going to be more so because it's a stack thing, a stack team. You have all these different receivers that got to get the ball to, and Bridgewater is not the most electric quarterback, so I was thinking it was going along those lines, but him getting hurt just kind of like, you know, he was a buzz because of it, but I didn't really want that. My miss of the week goes to my guy Paris Campbell. Like, I'm your biggest fan, Paris. Please, like, I've been waiting 2 years for you to like help my fantasy squads. I have him on like every fantasy team, and I thought with TY being gone, he's going to be wide receiver 1, but it ends up being, was it
Zach Pascal?
Yeah, like, come on, man, like, really? But you know, having 1 reception and you playing like half the snaps, that's unacceptable. So Paris, please look at me. I need you, man. Let's go.
It sounds like Major Domus there. He's a little bit hurts over the whole thing. Calvin, who'd you hit and who'd you miss?
Well, I'm going to just actually, we already talked a little bit about Hurts, so I'm going to go with just another one. I begged people to trade Tyson Williams last week for a 2nd-round pick in Dynasty. Begged. I argued with people for like 2 days who were coming after me on Twitter about this. In the second half, he had the same amount of carries as Trenton Cannon, 1, and Trenton Cannon was cut right after the game. Latavius Murray, who had been with the team for 5 minutes, out carried him in the game 10-9. Tyson Williams, we've got to stop doing when somebody comes out of nowhere due to injury and we can get a second round pick for that. Oh my gosh, you have to do that every time. If you don't do that, you're not playing Dynasty right. That's just, you have to do that. Now the coach comes out and says, we're going to get all the running backs involved. Do you think anybody's giving a second round pick now? No.
Nope.
You missed your window. If you can get out for a third, I'd still do that because I think there's a really good chance that we get to a place in the season where he's not even active anymore. My miss, TJ Hawkinson. TJ Hawkinson he had 10 targets. That was really good. I honestly did not expect for him to lead the team in targets. I get that a lot of people thought that. And I think actually maybe technically DeAndre Swift did, but still, like, that was a really good game from him. Let's see if he can keep putting it together. I called him a bust at his ADP of 5th round. If he continues to look how he looked in week 1, he's definitely not going to be a bust. And that will make me look very silly if he continues to do that.
Nah, he looked really good.
And I'm a little more humble than the rest of you, so I'll keep my hits down to a minimum. I just want to remind everyone that it is Josh Gordon season's firing up here right now, so buckle down, board up the doors, whatever you got to do, because Josh Gordon season's coming among us here. But it's always there's spring, there's summer, there's fall, there's winter, and there's Corey Davis season, which is year round. It's always a hit here. You know my love for Corey Davis. And Sterling Shepard is a guy I was throwing out there all the time. I go back to the Kings Classic. I had fun. I put like a $17 bid on him, which you probably really could have got him for $3. But, YOLO there. I had the money to spend. I spent it. Sterling Shepard. By the way, if you look at guys who've produced like 20-plus points at the position, Christian McCaffrey has 8 straight games. The next closest player is Sterling Shepard with 3 straight games. And that's some kind of fact I actually did check. So I'm going a little off script there.
Nice.
Now my misses. There's 2 big misses. I still regret this. I went on with Bob Harris and Mike Dempsey there on the Football Diehard show. And I told someone, don't get cute. Start Mike Gesicki over Juwan Johnson. Everyone said, you know what? It looked good. You know what? Let's not get cute. Gesicki is a stud. He's healthy. You want to play him. Well, all that happened is Juwan Johnson caught 2 touchdowns and Gesicki was shut out. Now, saying that, Gesicki is going to rebound great this week. We might get into that later. We might not. You got Fuller on one side. You got Waddle on the other. The seams are going to be there. Stick with Mike Gesicki. And then my other miss, and I'm not calling it a miss yet, but I really thought Jacoby Myers was going to have a bigger week 1. I've got my Jacoby Myers tracker going on here on the side. So I still stand by it. I think he's still going to have a big season. I'll still fight everyone on Twitter over this. I said that he was going to have a better season when it was all said and done than Tyler Lockett, Brandon Cooks, T. Higgins, Deontay Johnson, DJ Moore, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, and Tyler Boyd. He did outperform Tyler Boyd in week 1, so I get credit for that. But the other one, Tyler Lockett had a Tyler Lockett game. He's going to get one more of those before the season's over. Let's get that out of the way. But that's just I got a tracker here. It's on my screen. I got it. PPR points, 4.4 PPR points for Jacoby Myers. That was a miss for me.
Led
in week 1.
New England in targets.
Led him in targets, 98.7% of the snaps. He was on the field. All the math is there. It's there. It's going to come. It will happen. And
watch out for
I'm going to be when it does happen. I will. It's going to be a victory lapping. Don't you worry about that. It's happening.
What if it doesn't happen? What if it doesn't happen? What's happening if it doesn't happen?
Ooh. The previous videos will be getting deleted, and it never happened at all.
I thought I was going to shave the mustache or something, you know.
Oh, we don't touch the mustache. That's the only thing I got going for me. Now let's get into. We're moving on to week 2 here. We kind of broke down 30 minutes on the week before. Let's go into 30 minutes heading into week 2. Tara, we're going to head to you. Game of the week. Give us, who is that game of the week? Who are you starting? Who are you fading? Who are some sneaky plays? And how is this going to affect your fantasy squads?
So my game of the week is going to be the highest scoring game. It is Arizona and Minnesota. I can't wait to watch it. It's going to be fantastic. There are so many starts. When you go over to the Arizona side, we've got Kyler, we've got DeAndre, and I'm still saying double down on Chase Edmonds. I know maybe it's not the hot take that you guys want, but
top 24 week.
Yeah, for sure.
Top 50 running back.
I mean, when you look at the way that Joe Mixon carved up Minnesota, it should be better, to be quite frank. I mean, they were so bad that maybe even James Conner can get a little something, but dude, don't fade him. Don't do it. It's just possible. But then when you go over to the Minnesota side, of course, Thielen, Jefferson, Cook, I'm a little bit on the fence with Arizona. With Kirk Cousins because of Arizona's defense. And I'll get to this in a second. I think they might be a little better than people are anticipating. And, we'll see. But obviously Cook as well. So those are my starts of the week. And then when you head over to who I'm fading, again, James Conner, Kirk Cousins, AJ Green, of course. I don't think anybody's debating that. But I'm kind of on the fence with Christian Kirk. I don't think that he will repeat that same performance. But again, this is going to be an incredibly high-flying offense this week. I think there's going to be a lot of points scored. I think that if you're in a pinch and you want to put one of them in your flex, I think you could do Christian Kirk. You could probably do Rondale Moore, because despite the fact that Rondale Moore didn't actually hold on.
Can I have more goldfish?
Despite the fact that Rondale Moore didn't actually have a big game.
Is that
He just wants to. He's smart. He knows what's going on right now. Look.
He wants some goldfish.
Hold on, buddy. I'll get you goldfish in a second. He did. No respect, but you know what? I don't get respect from you guys on Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not going to get it from my kid either.
Never.
You got to blame A-Rod on that. That's not your fault.
I'm touching the fire.
Okay, thank you, buddy. But then my sneaky play of the week is gonna be KJ Osborne. I think that he stands a really good chance to repeat. I think that he's definitely solidified that he's the third receiver in that offense. And I think he's showcasing that the third receiver can actually be productive behind Thielen and Jefferson. And it could be a good situation for him. I think that he's a very sneaky play. I'm sure a lot of people picked him up on waivers, depending on, what type of league that you're in. And, specifically for, we're, a Dynasty podcast, but for DFS as well, that, is a really big opportunity there if you want to go super cheap. But, then, the last part the biggest thing I see coming out of this game is the way that the result of this game is going to affect how we actually view the Arizona defense. The way that they performed against Tennessee, it was incredible. They allowed 13 points. They had a couple interceptions. We talked about Chandler Jones and that performance, sacks, fumbles. They were fantastic. So, was this just a random Tennessee underperforming, still needing to get used to the new dynamics of their offense with Julio Jones added in? Or is this the new Arizona? Did they really upgrade their defense? Did they really draft that well? Are they making a change? And, I think this is going to affect how we actually play teams and players versus Arizona moving forward.
And I'm looking forward to seeing how Arizona wants to attack Patrick Peterson in this matchup, because they let him go. They've got some studs on the offensive side of the ball that they can get the ball out to deep. Are they going to attack him? I think they might. Major, I believe you got the second game of the week. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with the Tennessee Titans versus the Seattle Seahawks. I think this one's going to be the highest scoring game of the week. Thank you very much, Tera. But I'm going to give you one player from each team to kind of keep your eye on. Number one, Russell Wilson is going to be phenomenal. Like, this guy, it seems like at the beginning of each season, they let him cook. They let Russ cook at the beginning of the season. And then midway through the season, they kind of fade him a little bit for some reason. I don't know why. Maybe just bad coaching. I don't know. But for some reason, he performs crazy at the beginning of every season. He'll give you 4 or 5 touchdowns a game, throw the ball 500 yards, all that good stuff. But, and then on the other side, I'm going to go with Henry. Like, he is they need to get him back on track. Last week, he only had 17 touches. I think he needs to be more in that 20 to 25 range. And I think the Tennessee Titans need to get back to what they do best, and that is run the ball and play action off of that. So, yeah, those are two guys that you should look for. Two guys I'm fading is going to be A.J. Brown and Julio Jones. Seattle's defense was amazing last week. They shut down pretty much any and everyone who was on that field last week. And I think it's going to be more of the same. And again, like I said, I think that they're going to have Tennessee's going to have to get back to running the ball. And I think that's going to kind of hurt AJ and Julio's target share. So unless they can get rolling early and they can get back to that play action pass, I think Tannehill is more comfortable there than actually just dropping back and throwing the ball. Two sneaky plays. I'm going to go with Gerald Everett. Probably not that sneaky anymore because he had 2 touchdowns last week, but he didn't really do anything else other than those 2 touchdowns. So hopefully to get him more, expand his role this week, get him more plays in the middle of the field, all that good stuff. And another one for the Titans is going to be Josh Reynolds. He was out last week. Hopefully he can get back this week and get back to his position. Last week, Chester Rogers had a pretty good game. I can't find my stats here, but yeah, Chester Rogers had about like 60 yards or something like that last week. And I think Josh Reynolds can get in there and do a little bit more in that position. And in this game, I look for Russ to lock it to be a thing to continue. And again, they need to get Henry back on track. Like him having 17 rushes is not enough for him, especially in that fourth quarter. You want to give him the ball on every play just so he can beat up on that defense and make the quarterback job a little bit easier. So, yeah, that's my game.
Okay, so Arizona, Minnesota is going to be the highest scoring in the game. Nope, Tennessee versus Seattle is going to be the highest scoring. Calvin, let me guess. Atlanta and Tampa Bay is going to be the highest scoring game.
I think there's going to be a lot of offense, specifically in the air. And I think that's why I chose this one, because there's questions about a lot of important fantasy players in this game that I hope we, maybe we're not going to get answers to, but I hope we at least get another important data point. Atlanta versus Tampa Bay. One of the things you saw, obviously, out of Dallas is they were able to throw the ball pretty well. You saw Dak. Now, can Matt Ryan be anything like that? I don't know. But here's what I found when I started digging through some of Arthur Smith's history. That first game, actually, even last year, was not very good as the OC there in Tennessee. But as I dug through, one of the games that I found that I thought was really interesting was there was a game where they faced a really tough run defense like Tampa Bay. And Ryan Tannehill had his highest amount of pass attempts that whole season during that game. And check this out. So A.J. Brown had a weird game. He had 7 targets, 4 catches, 87 yards. He fumbled twice. It was just a weird game for him. Corey Davis, 12 targets, 11 catches, 182 yards, and a touchdown. When he wants to air it out, he can. Matt Ryan, Matt Ryan's a pro. Like, there's no reason to think, yes, it was bad last week, but we might find out that Philadelphia is a top 5 defense in the league. And, there might be a lot of, we just don't know yet enough to be able to accurately say, this is who they are. Let's give it a little bit of, give it room to breathe. Let's relax on Kyle Pitts. He had 8 catches, was the wide receiver 2. If he is the one that is in that Corey Davis role, which a lot of people have kind of speculated with Arthur Smith's history, last time that Arthur Smith opened it up, 12 targets, 11 catches, 182 yards, and a touchdown. Yeah, you're firing all these people up. I saw people offering Rob Gronkowski and getting Kyle Pitts back. You want that. That's a good deal for you. So I like this. So you're starting Matt Ryan, you're starting Calvin Ridley, you're starting Kyle Pitts. On the other side, start the passing games, passing weapons. Brady, Godwin, Brown, Evans. I'm not trusting any of the running backs at all in either team for different reasons. Tampa Bay's strong run defense is keeping me away from the running backs there. And just the uncertainty with what's going to happen with the running backs is keeping me away from Tampa running backs. I don't want to start Rojo, Fournette, Gio, any of them. And the sneaky play might be Russell Gage. I think he didn't do much for us in the first week. Let's see if they get their act together and let Matt Ryan throw a little bit. And if they do, I think some good things can happen. And that the passing game in Atlanta starts to get back on track, even with a tough matchup.
And I'm going to go with the highest scoring game of the week. San Francisco at Philly. Now, we know San Francisco can't stop a thing because they gave up yards upon yards and points upon points on a bunch of knee-biting Lions, okay? That's basically how that game broke down. We know Philly can score. We saw what Philly's offense did. And you know what? Jalen Hurts could be in the conversation for the QB1 again this week based on what we've seen Jared Goff do to the San Francisco 49ers. There's no reason not to believe that Jalen Hurts can't give you a Jamal Williams and a Jared Goff game all rolled up into one. So for me, you're firing up Jalen Hurts without a question. You're starting him week in, week out right now. He is that Konami Code type quarterback who's going to give you 250 to 300 yards in the air, add another 75 on the ground, probably 2 to 3 touchdowns combined. You're starting him. There's no way you're not starting him in today's game. I think Tara's probably going to shake her head at me here a little bit. Miles Sanders, I think you've got to find a way to get him in your lineup, either as a flex or an RB2. I think he's a top 12 right now in PPR rankings. So there's no reason not to believe. Again, what did Jamal Williams do? What did DeAndre Swift do to this 49ers defense? I think 49ers will get it right. We know they have one of the best defenses in the league, but early now, week 1 gave us a little bit of a small sample size that this 49ers defense has a little ways to go before it's back to the way it was a couple of years ago. Yo, Larry, what's up, bud? I see you there. We see you in the chat. Another guy, Devonta Smith, you're firing him up because it's Devonta Smith. He looked good in week 1. All 3 of these rookie wide receivers stepped up. Chase, Waddle, and Smith, they all look good. They all got those first touchdowns in the first week. So no reason to believe he can't score again against the 49ers. And then George Kittle, I think you got to put him in your lineup. I'm not worried about Eric Wilson. I'm not worried about Singleton there as defenders when it comes to covering him. I think this is a game where George Kittle is going to yak it up. And when we move into the guys that I'm fading, Elijah Mitchell. Do not go Elijah Mitchell.
Watch your mouth.
It's Shanahan. It's a new week. He's got you looking over here. See, here. He's going to hit you with this one over here. That's how Shanahan works. It's going to be a tracer. You know what? It might even be a Kerryon Johnson week. I don't know. They just signed him to the practice squad. But you know what? I want to believe in Elijah Mitchell. If you've seen my IDP guys, rookie magazine kind of thing, I praise Elijah Mitchell. I think he can be effective. But you know what? You got one big game out of a San Francisco 49ers running back. Major, you know as well as I do, don't expect a second game to come from that guy right away either. It's going to be someone else the way Shanahan plays musical running backs. So I'm kind of fading him. And I guess if you want to go a little bit deeper, I'm going to fade Deebo Samuel. I don't think he's going to have that big game that he had last week either. I have a hard time thinking he's going to repeat that. I wouldn't say fade him, but I'm not putting him as my wide receiver too. I'm not getting that carried away. I think he's a good flex play, but I'm not going to move him in there. My sneaky play, we just talked about Jamal Williams. We talked about DeAndre Swift there. Kenneth Gainwell, he's my sneaky play this week. I really think when you look at what he did last week here, he had 35% of the snaps, which was more than Boston Scott. He had 7 touches less than Sanders did. San Francisco gave 49 fantasy points up to Lions running backs. Jamal Williams was the RB2. DeAndre Swift was the RB4 in PPR. 2 top 5 running backs, and you'll see how this plays into something a little bit later for me too, but there's no reason. Kenneth Gainwell, I'm putting him in my flex, and I'm feeling comfortable about it. I think he could have a big week against San Francisco, much like Jamal Williams did last week. So he's my sneaky play. We know Sam, and how do I see this game breaking down? I don't see that Deebo repeat. I think San Francisco is going to have a hard time going from the west to the east. That could play in. That always plays in no matter how you look at it. The Eagles defense, I want to see if they're as good as they looked against Atlanta. It was Atlanta. That pass rush looked good. That front four looked solid for Philly, which meant there was very little stress on the back end, which is a big concern for me. So if you can keep your quarterback protected, that's where the Eagles are going to struggle. If you can keep that pressure off, that's going to change how Philly can attack you. And like I mentioned, Jamal Williams was RB4. DeAndre Swift was RB5. Can you get 2 top 12 running backs from the Eagles this week? We'll find out a little bit later. I may have something to say about it. So those are kind of the breakdowns of the games of the week. Now, it's funny because we're going to move into Tara here. You're going to tell us who is a player that's on waivers that you need to grab tonight. Who's it going to be, Tara? Tell me who it is.
Man, you stole my thunder and all my stats. My player is Kenneth Gainwell. Yeah. Man, not my best show. No, yeah, as Matt mentioned. So his snap count, it wasn't that awesome, that 35% that Matt mentioned, but the key is that Boston Scott, it wasn't just a low snap count. There was no snap count. He had zero snaps on offense. I think he played on special teams a little. So yeah, in an offense where we know that the RB2 has value and they like to give carries to that RB2, mix them in. He had 9 carries. Miles Sanders had 15. He had 3 targets. Miles Sanders had 5 targets. He had a touchdown, and he actually had another touchdown that was called back, not due to his fault, but due to an illegal man downfield, literally by like a couple of feet. They were right at the goal line. So it was very odd. That technically should have been his. So if you look at it that way, yeah, he absolutely has flex appeal this week. And Philadelphia, yes, they run a lot with Jalen Hurts, but they actually also give really good volume to the actual running backs. So I feel like he's going to be someone that you guys really need to pay attention to, and he's going to be a great contributor, and snatch him up now before this week's game because he will not be snatchable after that.
Major, who are you grabbing off waivers if you get an opportunity to do so?
Well, was gonna grab Elijah Mitchell before you faded him, but I forgot. I'm Major Dominus. You're gonna listen to someone who's 1-0. You're gonna listen to somebody who's 0-1. You get what I'm saying? So let's go pick up Elijah wherever you can. Grab him up. The guy had 19 carries, 104 yards, TD. He beat out his draft classmate, a 3rd-round pick, Trey Sermon, to become the backup. And now with Mustard being out, he's the guy now. I mean, Trey Sermon's going to suit up this week, but I think Shanahan is going to try to lean more on one running back. I know that sounds weird to say it out loud, but that's just me hoping. And one thing I like about Mitchell too, I just read something earlier where he said he's doing it for his kids. He has 2 kids, and he's like, he has to feed his kids. So, all of us dads know we'll do anything for our kids. So he's running with a purpose. So I really love that about him.
Calvin, speaking of runners, you got one here in the wide receivers?
I had very low expectations for Anthony Schwartz coming into the year. I did not expect him to be able to do very much. I thought he was very raw as a wide receiver. He's obviously always been very fast, but not somebody I expected to immediately come in and outwork and outdo Donovan Peoples-Jones, Rashad Higgins, and the rest of everybody not named Jarvis Landry, basically, and David Njoku in their receiving game. And he came in and made an impact immediately as a rookie. And I thought that was very good to see. He had 62 air yards, means they're Baker Mayfield pushing the ball down the field to get the ball to him. I think he's a stash with OBJ missing this week. You might could toss him in there. I would go as far as to say he's a top 100 wide receiver this week.
Bold. That is bold. Speaking of bold, so there's a fan, one of our biggest fans of the show there, and you know what? I like to get him on whenever we can. He wants to know how many TDs will Kyle Pitts score this week?
No, it's going to be a lot.
He's going to have at least 2.
Yeah, there we go. He's going to be a top 32 tight end.
They're top 32 tight end. I co-signed that.
And then for me, I'm going, you know what? We see what's going on with the running backs. We see the injuries coming in there. I know we shouldn't trust Houston players. I know they played Jacksonville, but Mark Ingram had 26 carries. Roll Tide. You know what I'm saying? 26 carries. For me, that is a volume play. And we know that they're not going to score a whole lot in Houston, but we saw a little bit of development there in that backfield where it looks like Mark Ingram's going to get a good portion of the touches back there. They sprinkled it in well. Philip Lindsay scored on the ground. David Johnson scored in the air. Ingram, again, also got in the end zone with the touchdown. So, you know what? If I'm going to grab a guy off waivers right now, I think you could do worse than grabbing Mark Ingram. And moving along with the program, who is that player that managers need to relax on? Tera.
It's Aaron Rodgers. Come on now. And he spelled it out before. Relax. I'm not going to spell it out because I don't want to mess it up, as I've messed up literally everything on this show. But yeah, I mean, again, I think that it's a really weird situation. Unfortunately, we probably just didn't take into account that even the greats have to prepare. Look at Tom Brady. Look at the preparation that he puts into his game and to life in general. Crazy, right? To be able to do that. And I think Aaron underestimated the way that he handled the offseason, just enjoying life a little bit more, and the way that he was going to be able to transition that back into live football. So unfortunately, I think maybe they need a little bit of time. And I think it's the same team as last year. And if anything, we've made, some improvements on defense, a little bit at the wide receiver portion as well. So I think that it's going to turn around, and there's not a more perfect game to turn it around against than Detroit, obviously. So, we're going to be okay. And you can depend on the Green Bay Packers this week.
Major, who can you depend on moving forward?
Kyle Pitts. We have to relax. First, this guy's the greatest player to ever walk the face of the earth and never take an NFL snap. Then he's the biggest bust ever. We need to relax. This guy is going to be all right. That whole offense sucked last week. Ryan threw for 164 yards. Davis ran for 49. Ridley had 51 yards. But the stat I love the most about Pitts is he had a 27% target share. So that's a big target share for a tight end, especially a rookie tight end. So he's going to be all right. And like I said, this week he might give you a couple touchdowns. Just keep an eye out for that.
Can you say the same about your guy, Calvin?
Yeah, well, I just amen there, Major. Relax on Kyle Pitts. Justin Jefferson last year had 2 catches for 26 yards in his first game, and that turned out just fine. So let's give him more than 1 week before we say he's a bust. I can see ahead in the show sheet. This is not going to be popular. I think everybody needs to relax on Brandon Ayuk. I've spent a lot of time this week thinking about San Francisco. Obviously, the running back situation and this thing with Brandon Ayuk, that's a big deal. So I have read everything a beat reporter has said, tweeted, written, and all of them to a man. When you actually step back and look at the quotes from Kyle Shanahan, what's getting pumped out there and recycled is, oh, he's got to earn his time back. What you're not seeing is, when you really look at what he said, is you're not seeing that he's saying that because he missed time with his hamstring. He's always tying it in to he missed time and he's behind because of the injury, not because of a lack of work ethic, not because of a lack of ability, not because of anything other than something that's out of his control with his hamstring injury. There's no reason to think that they needed him against Detroit. So, of course, he played less snaps. Of course, whatever, you put in Sherfield. And I completely disagree with everything on Detroit from last week anyway. They were up by 20 points and put their backups in. That's why Detroit did anything anyway. And I think we need to relax on Ayuk. He's going to be fine. If there's a chance right now to buy him in Dynasty, do that. If people are freaking out and they're not really looking into this, buy him.
I really want to get Tera's comment here, but I'll wait for a second. My guy who I'm just saying relax to is Naji Harris. Rookie, running back, week 1. Don't worry about it. It's coming around. If it's still struggling after week 4 or 5 or 6, then we'll have a conversation. But I'm not worried about Naji Harris, and neither should you. Tera, who are you panicking about?
It's Brandon Ayuk, but I'm not selling because there's no point, because even if you sell right now, you're not even going to remotely get anything that would, it's not worth it. But in terms of how comfortable I feel with him in my starting lineup, I feel very uncomfortable. I don't know if I can do it because, Kyle Shanahan, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice. He's playing games with us, and I think at this point, I honestly think he enjoys it. And, my problem with Ayuk is that, if you look into what he actually said, the full quote, the clip being pulled out really makes it seem like it's more of a meritocracy, and that all of a sudden he's decided that, Brandon Ayuk isn't worth it. And he did mention, if you look at the full quote, that, it did have to do with him, missing time with the hamstring injury and issues with that. But But from my perspective, I question it a little. It just makes me pause that, if you felt like he wasn't ready to fully go, that's fine. If you wanted to say that, that's fine. But my issue is that the way he phrased it really did make it seem like if you miss time, that he thinks that you're essentially not worth putting into the lineup. And it made it seem a little odd because it kind of erased the success that he had last year in terms of feeling confident. If he was good enough to put out on the field, I don't understand why he's not good enough to actually physically target in the game. So it just concerns me a little bit in the way that he spoke and, the way that he spoke about the other receivers. It just was a little bit shaky right there. With that, combined with the whole Trey Sermon thing, I think that he has some thoughts and he's not sharing them, and he's trying to be a little bit evasive. And I don't think we can trust at what point Ayuk will be good enough or healthy enough to actually physically be in the lineup a significant amount of time.
I basically just don't trust the Shanahan ever. This goes back all the way back to Mike. But anyway, Major, please find who's a player you're panicking over. Actually, I know what the answer is, but
I'm gonna go with Brandon Ayuk again. Being a Niners fan, I chose this guy. He was my wide receiver 1 in a few of my leagues, and it just and even in one of my leagues in the draft night out. I played him. I didn't even get back to my team to change it. So. One thing I think you guys left out, you guys both did a really good job explaining it, but if you're a wide receiver 1 in the NFL, you get a lot of passes. You don't sit down because you're hurt. So I'm hearing from my sources, I'm hearing that coach is upset because he's not taking care of himself. I think that's the biggest part that people are leaving out, that he's not taking care of that hamstring. He's not in the training room as he should be. So keep an eye on that. It feels like he's kind of in a doghouse. We all know wide receiver 1s, they usually get a pass on everything. So him sitting out for a game to me is a big deal, especially and everyone's kind of poo-pooing on Detroit, but Detroit is it's a well-coached team. They play really hard. They're going to sneak up on a lot of people this year. So that wasn't a throwaway game. They need every game. So not having your number 1 receiver is a big deal, especially for something like a hamstring. So I think it's a little bit bigger than what people are making it.
Calvin, get us away from Brandon Ayuk. Who's someone you're panicking over?
I'm very worried about Ronald Jones. Look, you cannot say that Bruce Arians doesn't care about your fantasy team because he opened up another sell window by saying he's going to start this week. And you need to sell Ronald Jones right now for whatever you can get. Seriously, sell Ronald Jones. The thing that worries me, the reason why I'm panicking, is everybody's like, oh, he fumbled, so they pulled him. Look, that's not why Bruce Arians pulled him. He said that Ronald Jones could not get out of his head after the fumble. That is worrying. This is a mental game. There's the mental aspect of pro sports. I mean, look, sports psychologists, things like that, we don't talk about it a lot. We look at 40 times. We look at, those sort of the physical aspect. But a lot of people will tell you the game is 90% mental. I mean, when we had on Vincent Smith, he talked about that's where DeAndre Hopkins, that's what makes him so good, is the mental side. So when you've got a guy struggling this much with the mental side of the game, it helps you understand why there are times where Bruce Arians is like, I can't put you out there this much. It's not because of the talent. He's clearly got talent, but there's something going on with the mental side that has Arians not wanting to put him out there as much. And that is where I'm worried with Ronald Jones. Therefore, even in Dynasty, when he's going to be a free agent after this year, wherever Ronald Jones goes, Ronald Jones is going to be there. I'm definitely worried about him and not interested in holding him on my Dynasty League at this point. I'm selling him.
Shout out to Calvin for name-dropping friend of the show, Vincent Smith, in that little tidbit there. I loved it. For me, the player I'm panicking over is Brandon Ayuk. No, no, it's not. It's James Robinson, and I love James Robinson. I'm a fanboy. We get into this whole thing. I just don't trust Urban Meyer. That's where I'm scared. I don't know if Urban Meyer knows how to use good players in the National Football League. I'm not even sure he knew how to use them in college at any point. He just got lucky because his team was far more talented than the teams he was playing against. Now it's the other way around, where his team isn't as talented as those he's going up against. And I don't know if they're going to be able to use James Robinson the way I think he had 5 touches. 5 touches for a guy who ran for 1,000 yards last year. It's unacceptable, but I just can't trust Urban Meyer. So, yeah, I'm panicking a little bit.
You have a lot of trust issues, Matt.
I do have a lot of trust issues. I become a scorned lover when it comes to fantasy football players as well. So if I get burned, I'm probably not going back. But who's that unsung hero for you? Who's your Enrique Iglesias hero baby kind of guy for you? Come on, Major. Give me some cue. Cue me up. You can be my hero baby.
I'm not playing that game. Sorry, bro. Got you next time.
Who do you got? Who's your unsung hero? Who's going to be that big guy stepping up this week? Low guy, who carried your squads here, a little lower on ADP. Who are you looking towards?
I think I played this game wrong. I thought it was like who carried the team last week. So I went Zach Pascal, but hey, let's roll the dice twice. Let's see if he can like make it happen again. Like that offensive that wide receiver room is kind of beat up and kind of unknown. So anyone can come out of that and be the wide receiver one in that offense. So I'll stick with Zach and see what we can come up with this week.
And then Tera, who's that player for you that carry your squads?
So, little quick story. In my dynasty, in my home dynasty league, one of the worst teams in the league was forced to start both Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift as his running backs. And we thought, oh my gosh, what a terrible situation. Well, no, it was a fantastic situation for him. He dominated and he, won the game. And I think was one of the highest scoring teams in the league. And I think we're going to see that a lot this year, as crazy as it sounds. It seems like Detroit is just going to fade wide receivers in general. Like they're just not going to exist, and they're throwing to Hawk, and they're throwing to both Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift. And for me, I think that my guy this week is it's Jamal Williams again. If you look at what he did last week, I mean, Anthony Lynn was very specific about the way that he was going to handle the running backs, and I trust Anthony Lynn. Anthony Lynn, I trust him. I do not trust Kyle Shanahan. So I think that it's going to be the same situation of where they're splitting even carries. They're both ending up with 10, 11, 12 carries. They're both ending up with, almost 10 or so receptions, and they'll both have touchdowns. And I think that, Jamal Williams is going to be that guy who will be the unsung hero on your squad. You can start him this week yet again.
Was that team your brother's team?
What was that?
Was that your brother's team?
No, it wasn't. No. He, although he, man, I think he was watching earlier. Hopefully he went to bed. No, he's tanking this year, unfortunately, but no, that was not his team. He's starting Rojo. So, it's rough.
Oh yeah. No, don't do that. Jay, you're watching, man. Don't start Rojo ever. Even if you're tanking, that's just not a good look. So Major's trying to catch lightning in a bottle. Tera's trying to catch lightning in a bottle with it's Tera Time alum member Jamal Williams. Calvin, are you trying to catch lightning in a bottle this week? Twice?
Yeah, look, Brandon Cooks second only to Tyreek Hill in air yards last week. That's all he does. He's consistent. He does it every year. We doubt him every year. And we looked at this and we thought, hey, there's no way he's going to be able to be good on this Houston Texans team. And despite blowing out the Jacksonville Jaguars, still produced a great game. I don't expect them to blow out the Cleveland Browns. I wouldn't be shocked to see it go the other way. That's just going to mean more passing and more second half targets for Brandon Cooks.
And I'm going to go to the well again one more time here with Sterling Shepard. You talk about Brandon Cooks being the only option in the passing game, really. Pascal looks like he's really the only option in Indianapolis. Michael Pittman and Paris Campbell, sorry about that, Major, don't really look like they're contributing much offensively. Well, Sterling Shepard is like that guy. You know what? Calvin may outscore Tony this week, but he's not going to outscore Sterling Shepard. I guarantee you that. So make sure you fire. You know what? He's going to be that guy who's still being underappreciated and disrespected. Sterling Shepard's definitely a guy who is going to be a hero for you this week. Now, let's go rapid fire here. We got a few more questions here we want to get to in a minute or less. Tara, who is a player outside of the games of the week that we've already discussed that we need to be fading once again?
It's Saquon. I don't think I even have to explain it that much. I knew he was gonna, be a little limited to come out of the gates, but I didn't think it was gonna be this limited. I feel highly uncomfortable. No, fade.
Big fade on him. I know I was talking on Football Diehards. I said if he was lucky to get 20 touches, I still wouldn't be comfortable starting him even as an RB2. And I think we're still at that point. He's not going to ramp up until week 4 by the looks of it right now, if week 1's any indication. And from what coaches speak has been going on already this week, they've already said that their intention is not to ramp him up this week. Major, what's the game of the week that you're kind of fading here, or player?
I'm fading a whole Carolina offense against New Orleans. Like what you seen what they did to Aaron Rodgers in that squad last week. Sorry, Tara. New Orleans defense looks amazing. Like I think they're going to carry that team to the playoffs and maybe even to the Super Bowl. Kyle, yeah, let's go. No, but that defense was amazing. What they did to Green Bay was just like shocking. So I'm all in. I mean, I'm all out on Carolina's offense.
Okay, hang on. Let me before we get carried away. Everyone, this is your right hand, right? Raise your right hand when I mention the position here. So Aaron Rodgers, right hand, or Sam Darnold, right hand, or left hand for Sam. It's Aaron Rodgers, right?
What?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm so confused. Yes.
I didn't want to leave him hanging. I didn't know what was going on, but I didn't want to leave him hanging.
No, so okay. So we can agree that Aaron Rodgers is the better play over Sam Darnold. No doubt about it. Okay, let's go Devontae Adams versus DJ Moore. Probably Devontae Adams there with the advantage. But now let's take a step outside of those top two, that stack combination. Robbie Anderson or Valdez-Scantling?
Ooh.
Robbie.
I'd go Robbie. I really would.
Robbie Anderson.
I don't know.
Now, Terrace Marshall.
Although I will say
Alan,
Marquez, I will say, in his defense, he had 8 targets. I think we might have turned a little bit of a corner there. I think he might actually be the actual wide receiver 2 now. Take that as you will.
Terrace Marshall or Alan Lazard?
Terrace Marshall. Yeah.
Talent,
okay.
You say Marshall, sure, but I'm not sure I'm taking him over him in fantasy this week. This is a weird game.
Christian McCaffrey or Aaron Jones?
That's not fair.
Aaron Jones.
It's Christian McCaffrey, right?
In fantasy
So
this week?
Aaron Jones. What are you talking about? This
what my point is,
what
my point here is, yes, the Saints defense is good, but when we're talking about Carolina, like they don't have a good offense, they've got a good offense. Last year, they had 3 top 24 wide receivers in their roster. Yes, 3. And one of them's moved on. Terrace Marshall slides into that role. Curtis Samuel's gone. Sam Darnold is probably equal to Teddy Bridgewater, and Christian McCaffrey's back. So is this offense really as bad as people want to make it out to be? I think this offense is good. And Calvin, you know as well as I do, you put the Panthers and the Saints together in a game, anything can really happen. You know what I mean? If the Saints are they could be 15-1, and the Panthers could be 3 and whatever the number is to make it equal, there could be an upset coming because that's just how that division works outside of the Atlanta Falcons. You know what I mean?
Sam Darnold's going to see a lot of ghosts this week.
I'm going to say that.
We'll see how that breaks down.
I had a feeling Cal would not agree at all. He was not going to co-sign that one bit.
No, not at all. I'm not ready
what I'm saying is,
I like how Matt said rapid fire, but then goes on like a soliloquy for like
right, I know.
Yeah, I feel the disrespect for Carolina's offense is getting to a point where it's like, come on, man. Calvin, who are you fading this week?
I had no idea you were such a Sam Darnold fan. This is all brand new news for me.
He loves USC.
Sam Darnold, Jacoby Myers.
Yeah. The move from the AFC South to the AFC East meant that there's going to be 2 days this year where it is not going to be Corey Davis season because Bill Belichick likes to take out the best weapon from the opposing team. He does it all the time. And he's going to do that this week with Corey Davis. Corey Davis is not somebody I'm putting in my lineup. I do not trust him against Bill Belichick.
Well, I disagree because I'm still starting Corey Davis. You can't stop me. The guy I'm fading this week.
Hang on. Raise your right hand if you no.
Let's do the boots here. Let's go.
The player I'm fading this week. The player I'm fading this week is Adam Thielen. I am not hooked on a Thielen this week. Yeah, last week, 9 receptions, 92 yards, 2 touchdowns. You can't expect that again this week. You can't. And now he's going to an Arizona Cardinals team that only gave up 160 yards passing, gave up 80 yards total combined to Julio Jones and A.J. Brown. And you know what? Kirk Cousins, I don't think Kirk Cousins is the problem, but Chandler Jones is going to keep on eating. And if they decide, you know what, we better put double protection over there, there's still a guy on the other side called J.J. Watt. Like, we're talking about, I don't see there going to be much time for Kirk Cousins to get that ball off, if that's an option. And Thielen, I don't think is going to have a 2-touchdown game. I think he's a fade for me in a big way. This Cardinals defense, Tara, you kind of talked about in your game of the week. This could be a legit team. We're starting to get an idea what they are. If you've got that good pass rush, it doesn't matter what that back end looks like as long as you're getting that pressure on the quarterback. That's why the Eagles were successful. They were getting a good pass rush. We don't know what their back end looks like. We'll get a look at it this week with San Francisco. But for me, I'm fading Adam Thielen. Now, who is your must-start player? Tara, week 2. Who do you got to start?
I feel like you got to start Jarvis Landry. He is going to be the wide receiver 1 versus Houston. And if you look back and you say, well, Jacksonville didn't have a good game. Well, the receivers did fairly well. Unfortunately, it was just the first rookie game for Trevor Lawrence. He was a little inaccurate on stuff, but he threw for an incredible high volume. And I think you could see that same repeat with this week. Obviously, there's going to be a heavy lean on the run for Cleveland, but with Odell being out and Jarvis being able to step into that role, obviously we've seen what happens when he does that. So, expect it to be the same as the back half of last year when Jarvis was that guy against a defense that will let you throw on them.
Major, reach down really deep here. Channel your inner Tara here. And who is your play of the week?
I'm going to go with Patrick Mahomes versus Baltimore. And it sounds crazy, but Baltimore gave up the most passing yards in week 1, which sounds crazy. I don't think anyone's ever said that before. And Mahomes and Gain are running all cylinders. And I would typically fade all quarterbacks going against Baltimore in the past, but it looks like they have some stuff going on with injuries in that secondary, and I think Patrick Mahomes is going to have a monster game, like 5 touchdowns, 400 yards type of thing.
Calvin, please, what do you got? What's your start of the week?
Well, I'm convinced I'm going to start Patrick Mahomes now. Logan Thomas is my start of the week. I think he's the guy that you want to make sure you get in there. Let's talk about Taylor Heineke real quick. 2016, he came in the fourth quarter of a game. He targeted Logan Thomas 7 times in that fourth quarter. In the playoff game that he started against Tampa Bay, he targeted Logan Thomas 9 times. He was only targeted 3 times this past week. They were coming in expecting it to be a Ryan Fitzpatrick game. No, Taylor Heineke has the job now. I'm not sure he's giving it back, to be perfectly honest. I think this is going to be Heineke's job now. And I think you're going to see a lot of Logan Thomas. Would not be so shocked to see him get in the end zone and get double-digit targets. He did not get off the field for 1 single snap last week. He led the league in snaps in 2020. He's going to do it again in 2021. Logan Thomas is a guy you've got to get in your lineup.
I agree with that. I love myself some Logan Thomas here. A couple guys I like that you're going to start. I think you're going to get a little bit of a Houston backfield situation here. Melvin Gordon and Javonte Williams, you're starting both of them this week, and you're going to feel comfortable. The Jacksonville Jaguars gave 160 yards rushing, 2 rushing touchdowns, 1 touchdown via pass to a running back. You know what? We could talk about what we want. Sure, Gordon had a 70-yard touchdown, but the old dude, he can still move. You know what I mean? He still busted off a 70-yard touchdown in that game. So you know what? Fire them both up. I think it's going to still be a split share. I think you're going to have value in both these running backs. Put one as an RB2, put one as a flex, and feel comfortable in doing so. Now we get to the best part of the show here. We are going – oh, wait. Hang on. We have a defense question coming in right now. Calvin, Browns or Pats defense for week 2?
I am going to – oh, gosh. Which one's at home? Are either of them at home? Let's see. Okay. Yeah, Cleveland is at home, man, and New England's on the road. I know it's a nice matchup against the Jets, but it's a road matchup for New England. I think, like Matt said, it matters more this year. So give me Cleveland against Houston. All right, there we go. Now, bold prediction time. Tera, what do you got for us? Give us something spicy.
Well, once again, you've kind of jumped the gun on what I was about to say with the last thing you said. It is Devonta Williams, and I'm going to be more specific so that you guys can, feel like I'm being fair in my bold predictions. 70 plus yards and 1 touchdown. I've caveat receiving or running. It's going to be one of the two, but yeah, 70 plus yards and 1 touchdown. That is my bold prediction.
I like it.
So that we're looking at roughly, we'll call it 4, 10, 11 points for fantasy, give or take. A little bit more. Some receptions in there. Well,
there'll be some receptions in there too. So,
All right. We got that. So we got a number we can work with for sure. Major, this is bold. You're going bold again. And I love what they say.
Great.
You're an NFC West guy. I'm an AFC West guy. Bold is beautiful. Hit me with it.
I'm giving you 2 again. Last week I gave you 2. I'm giving you 2 again. AFC West, NFC West will both stay undefeated this week.
I like that because the Raiders are playing the Steelers. So that's gonna be a close one for you.
That's gonna be a close one.
And the Chiefs are playing the Ravens, so we know where you're standing on that. So, Calvin, give me something bold.
Pat Mahomes, top 32 quarterback this week. Naji Harris, top 5, going against the Las Vegas Raiders that just let a 25-year-old practice squad player actually have a good fantasy day against them. And then the ghost of Latavius Murray even scored a touchdown running in backwards against the Raiders. The last 5 yards, literally running in backwards. I think Naji Harris is ready to actually break out. I like watching him. It just wasn't there for him against a tough Buffalo defense with a tough line. I don't think the Raiders line is Buffalo's. Sorry, Matt. I don't think it's close.
Hey,
I think Naji Harris top 5 running back.
We'll talk about this next week here, but I'm interested to see with that offensive line that the Pittsburgh Steelers has and the amount of pressure with the 4-man rush that with Vegas was getting on Baltimore, if that can continue into this week. That's going to be a matchup, fun one to watch. And for me, let's get bold. Let's get a little crazy here. I'm going to say that Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt both finish as RB1s against Houston, but that's not it. I'm also going to say Sanders and Gainwell also finish in the top 15. So you're going to have Kareem Hunt, you're going to have Nick Chubb in the top 12, and then you're going to have Sanders and Gainwell in the top 15 as well. You're going to have double teammates in the top 15. That's my bold prediction. You're getting a 2-for-1 special Dingus style here. And just like that, we are coming to a conclusion on the Dynasty Vipers ViperCast, powered by Fantasy Points Media Group. Kelvin, over to you. Send us off. Of course, I'm going to get the last word in, but I'm going to let you feel like you got
it. I just appreciate everybody tuning in. This was really good. Make sure that you hit the subscribe button down below. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. There's a lot of awesome things happening with the Dynasty Vipers. Not only this show, which I think it needs to be watched by like
the best
multiples more people. This is a lot of fun. And I love it. Make sure you subscribe, hit the notification button, hit the like button, give a comment. Like if you disagree with one of the things that we said, like tell us, put it in the comments, actually like put it out there. Hey, if you just disagree, tell us. Like, be bold enough to actually put it in writing below the video, or forever hold your peace. It's up to you. I say go ahead and put a comment down there. Make sure that you're following Major Damas.
Hold on, I wish I had another sound effect. I'm ready next week.
Make sure you're following him. Tera is killing it literally like every single week. She's got like, whatever. She's going to be on
everywhere. She's everywhere, so just tune in.
I think I saw that you have an appearance with Peyton and Eli on the Monday Night Football next week. Is that right?
Yeah, my good friends Peyton and Eli. We're just gonna be chilling. Yeah.
People are probably gonna believe that too. On
I know.
how far you got right now.
Yeah.
I mean, you know what? If you want to catch Tera, you can catch her over like at Fantasy Pros, Fantasy Points, Fantasy Alarm, Fantasy Vipers. You know what? Whatever it is, if it's got fantasy, it's got Tera. And of course, Will, he's starting off biased opinion starting next Monday. You get a little bit of prop betting action going in there. Mike and Roberto, they're going to kick off tonight at 9:30 Eastern, their Devi Pro show, which obviously they can't do because we're on the air right now. But they're going to be firing up their show here, a little look in some college football. So you want to catch that. And of course, Major, he's got his show coming out here soon enough. We're still in development.
Yeah.
But any Major Dumas, any predictions on the show?
That's the one thing I can't predict, but I will be shooting
Major Dumas.
And I think I will be doing it. I think I might release it on Saturday. Let's see what happens.
There you go. We have a prediction of a possible prediction on a possible date. And with that said, this is the ViperCast. And you know what? Once I find the branding here and get the video queued up and stop delay by talking, we out of here. Catch you next week.